right, Jim, and we're in the old Olympic Arena. The capacity just 1,200, so you talk about a tough ticket. Of course, we're packed. It's the U.S. against Norway in a blue division game, and after the U.S. had played its two toughest opponents, Sweden and Czechoslovakia, you can see the standings with the Americans and the Swedes with 3 points apiece. Czechoslovakia, Romania, West Germany with 2. Norway has lost both of its games. 0-2 coming in. Al Michaels along with former Canadians goalie Ken Dryden. And Ken, Norway is the weakest team obviously in this division. The Americans, people I think are fearing a little bit of a letdown. On paper it should be 8-1, 8-2, but as they say, they don't play it on paper.
Well, that's right. And the problem with a team like the U.S., which is perhaps a team of overachievers or recent achievers, is that you tend to forget those teams that were part of you a little while ago, and you tend to only look ahead to the very big games. And as you say, the U.S. team should win this game and should win it fairly handily, but they're going to have to play well, and I know that they want to keep the momentum going that they've built up over the last few days.
Is there any one thing that impressed you most of all in the game against Czechoslovakia the other night?
I think what impressed me the most was their second period. Up until that time, they had played very well offensively, but they had played weakly defensively. But in second period, they played well in both ends of the ice.
Well, we're ready to start the U.S. against Norway, and we're underway with the United States in white and Norway in red. Remember, a very small arena, but a wide ice surface. Jim Craig out of Boston University in the nets for the United States as the puck comes back toward the Norwegian goal. John Harrington giving chase. That's Buzz Schneider, number 25, with a couple of goals the other night. The first shot is kicked aside by the Norwegian goaltender Jim Martinsen, number 1, starting in the nets today for Norway. Opening minute of play, the United States in its third of 5 games in this first round. U.S. in white and Norway in red. The Americans out to the point, shot in, it's wide. Back to the left point, Phil Baker trying to keep it in, but the Norwegians will be able to clear the zone. Schneider is in offside as he brings it back across the blue line. Big night for Buzz Schneider, who is the only member of this Olympic team with prior Olympic experience. He played in 1976 at Innsbruck.
Buzz is not a particularly talented player, but he's an extremely hard worker, and up until the other night he was used principally as a defensive player, but he got 2 goals and played an excellent all-around game.
Ken Morow, who had a separated shoulder the other night, he's number 3, but in the starting lineup today for the U.S. Good defenseman. He's sort of unobtrusive, but did a very steady job. Kristoff over to Neil Broughton, number 9. Broughton comes into the Norwegian zone. Neil setting up, passing behind him. Ruzioni, and shot in from the point by Morrow. Now Steve Kristoff centers it, but nobody is there. U.S. nothing, Norway nothing. A minute and 20 seconds into the game. Tonight, as you take a look at head coach Herb Brooks from the University of Minnesota, he spent 7 years with the Gophers. They won 3 NCAA championships during that period. A man who brought this team together, selected it with some help in late August. They played a 61-game schedule leading in. As we've got our first penalty, a Norwegian player, number 7. He's the team captain, Rune Moldberg, going off for 2 minutes. And so the Americans with a power play opportunity.
And the U.S. team will try to move the puck around and try to find somebody open in the front parts of the net.
Penalty on Moldberg for roughing. That's Christian. Over to Ruzioni, the team captain, 21. Baker couldn't get his stick down on the pass, but Kristoff is there in the corner. Steve Kristoff skating out with it to Baker and back to Kristoff.
Well, as the Norwegian players are playing a ball, they're trying to penetrate the box. That's what the U.S. team will be trying to do.
And the Norwegians able to clear the zone. So the Americans now waiting to get onside. Christian circling in center zone and then has it taken away by Fальk-Nilsен, number 12 of Norway. Jim Craig back of the nets to stop it. Again, for those of you who don't see that much hockey, you can ice the puck when you are 1 man down. So the Norwegians are able to ice the puck through the duration of the penalty. Good lead pass to Strobel, but he was offside. Strobel had come across the blue line before the puck. So, power play here in the early stages of the first period. And a whistle. And a stoppage of play. We'll have a penalty coming up against the U.S. So that will negate the power play opportunity as Mark Johnson, number 10, And we saw Mark injured at the end of the game against Czechoslovakia the other night, but skating today and going off here for tripping.
Mark had the puck, was moving it back to the point. As he was going to the front of the net, he interfered and tripped the Norwegian player. And as Al mentioned, we're now playing 5-a-side.
And we'll play 5-a-side for the next 55 seconds. And then for a minute 5, Norway will have the power play opportunity, as Johnson will still be in the box for the U.S. The Americans coming out to center ice now. Eric Stробl over to Ramsey, number 5, the youngest player on the team. His shot and the save out in front by Martinsen as the Norwegians come back the other way. Centering, finding J.Johansen, number 9, with a pass. Morow staying right with him. Kenny, as always, doing a good job. He's played well the first 3 days. Craig clearing it aside with a stick. The U.S. coming back as Ramsey clears it into the Norwegian zone. Strobel circles in back of the net. Out in front to Ramsey. Great save by Martinsen, and then Martinsen able to smother the puck, and a stoppage of play with 16:35.
Eric Strobel made a very good play there, getting the puck on the right wing, coming in, realizing that he had a very poor angle to shoot, deciding to go around behind the net, and then Mike Ramsey very cleverly coming in from his defense position in front of the net for the shot.
Norway now with 6 skaters, and the Americans with 5, as Johnson is still in the penalty box. Shot blocked out in front, and a whistle as Buzz Schneider gets tangled up in front with Mohlberg, number 7.
The whistle was caused by a high stick. The goaltender, J.Mартинсен, kicking the shot out, it going above the shoulders and hit by a stick above Buzz Schneider's shoulder.
Norway on the power play. Again, we're playing in the old Olympic Arena. It was refurbished. This was the site they used as the main indoor arena back in 1932. Only 1,200 seats. And we are packed. Johnson still in the penalty box for the Americans as we've got a whistle. 43 seconds left in the penalty. And another call here now coming up against the Norwegians. So the other night in the Czechoslovakia game, despite the hard hitting, it was a relatively penalty-free game. We've already had 3 called today in the first 3 minutes and 56 seconds.
I think all of the penalties were of the marginal variety, but so far as an official is concerned, what you're really looking for is consistency, and he's setting the tone right now that he's going to call anything that is marginal, and that's all the teams are really looking for.
So Mohlberg goes to the box again. 2 minutes for interference. Johnson still in the box for the United States for the next 40 seconds, so the team skating 5-a-side at the moment. Mюре, number 8. Starting up the ice. Long slap shot and a glove save by Craig, who sweeps to the side of the corner, but Mюre is there to get it back to the point. Slapped in from the point and through Craig, as Norway is able to capitalize with 15:41 to go in the first period. The shot deflected after the slap shot from the point. Number 8, Geir Mюre of Norway.
Mюre was left uncovered in front of the net. Here's the shot from the point. You can see Mюre with no defenseman near him, and he just deflects the puck through Craig's legs for the goal. But one of the U.S. defensemen should have been there to pick up Mюre.
The slap shot from the point was by Lёsomоен, number 14, but Mюre scores, and it's 1-0 Norway. Verkota couldn't get his stick on it as he trailed the play from the left side. Back out to Bill Baker, the big hero the other night with a goal against Sweden. Hand save out in front, and then Schneider can't get his stick on it, and Norway able to clear the zone as Johnson comes out of the penalty box, and we've got another penalty coming up, elbowing against the Americans. It's 1-0 Norway, early first period. Bill Verkota has just gone into the penalty box. There he is, number 27, at the 4:39 mark. 2 minutes for elbowing. So each team has been assessed 2 penalties already, and the teams right now skating at equal strength, each down a man. Norway leading 1-0, and everybody fearing an American letdown, and that is the case through the first 5 minutes of the game.
Well, that is something certainly to fear. The U.S. team playing so well and being so high the previous few nights. Again, the tendency is to think all of a sudden that the other teams that you're going to be playing, the ones that you thought were the teams teams that you were going to be able to beat and beat easily before, and were of great importance to you in the games that you would be playing, you have a tendency to take those teams very, very lightly now. You start to think of yourselves only in terms of the Swedes, the Czechs, and the Soviets.
Face-off in the Norwegian zone. The goaltender, number 1, J.Mартинсен, Neil Broughton on the face-off for the U.S. Ramsey slaps it in. 6-8 out in front by Martinsen, and backhanded out in front, and Kristoff can't get his stick on it. Number 22, Stefan Foy, passing it back of his own net. The Norwegians trying to come out, but Ramsey able to keep it in at the blue line. Neil Broughton, number 9, back to Ramsey, and he can't control inside Norwegian territories. The Americans circling back, getting onside. Morrow, number 3 with a puck, up to Neil Broughton, number 9, out of the University of Minnesota, drafted by the Minnesota North Stars in the second round. And we've got another penalty coming up as we had action in the corner between Ramsey and Erik Pedersen, number 16 of Norway.
Well, we've played just over 5 minutes in the game, and already we have 5 penalty calls. This is something that the U.S. doesn't want to get. Here's the penalty here, as he takes him heavily into the boards with the high stick. And now the Norwegians will be 2 men short, the U.S. team 1 man short. The U.S. team would much prefer to get into a normal kind of a game where both teams are playing full strength, and they should have enough confidence that if they are in that kind of a game, that they can play in the pattern that they would like to. But right now, when everybody's getting penalties, you're sending out unusual combinations.
Baker slapping it from out in front. It's wide. Mohlberg will be out of the penalty box for Norway in 8 seconds, so then the teams will skate at equal strength. Right now, the Americans 1 man up, long shot from his own zone, and Craig with the easy save. And now Mohlberg comes out of the penalty box, so each team with 5 skaters. Johnson to Baker, and Bill couldn't get the shot away. Baker going hard into the boards, and we've got a whistle for a face-off with 13:52 remaining in the first period. So early in the first period, it's still Norway 1 and the Americans nothing. Back live, Davy Christian has the puck and loses it to center zone. The team skating at equal strength, each a man down with 13:40 to go in the first period. Norway leading 1-0. Neil Broughton over the blue line for the U.S. Broughton into the corner along with Johansson. Tries to pass it along the boards, but a weak pass. Norway can't clear the zone, however, as Jarlsbro scrambles for it. Broughton is over there, and now the Norwegians get it out to center ice. And Verkota comes out of the penalty box for the Americans. So the Americans with a power play situation here for the next 52 seconds with Pedersen in the box for Norway. So the U.S. trying to get even, and Kristoff's pass comes out to center ice. Kristoff, and offside was Steve taking the pass from Christian. So the Americans a bit tentative on the power play, squandering some opportunities here. 39 seconds are left in the penalty to Erik Pedersen of Norway.
The hardest thing to sustain for a team that is in the position of the U.S. team is not your energy level, which is going to remain high, but it's your concentration. It has a tendency to go on you when you are playing against teams that you are supposed to beat relatively easily.
Ramsey shooting it into the corner and bouncing back of the net as Johnson comes up with it. Mark ridden out of the play. Davy Silk tries to get it in front and does, but only red shirts are there as the Norwegians clear with only 17 seconds now left in the power play opportunity. So the Americans trying to start what could be their last rush as Johnson straps forward in center zone, and Norway able to clear it into the American end. So that will effectively eat up the penalty. 12:25 remaining in the first period. Norway leading 1-0. Davy Silk in over left wing. Backhands in front. МакКлэнахэн nearly got a stick on it. Rob now in the corner, passing it back to the net to Dave Silk. Silk scored the other night the first goal against Sweden. МакКлэнахэн in the corner. The team's at equal strength now. And the Norwegians clearing it to center zone where Kenny Morrow gets his stick on it. Number 3 from Bowling Green. The Americans, they have 9 Minnesota Gophers on the team. 2 fellas from Bowling Green, 4 from Boston University. Morrow shooting it in around the boards. Back out to the point, Pavlich keeping it in. Snyder strapping for it. Harrington couldn't get a centering pass away. And Norway coming back the other way now. This is Tora Fälk-Nilsson, number 12. Slap shot from the point. Glove saved by Craig. Leaves it back to the net for Pavelic. Here come the Americans again with 11.5 minutes to go in the first period. Norway on a goal by Meyer, leading 1-0. Låsomon. Backhanding it up ahead for Thoresen, but back to get it is Ramsey. First American-born #1 round draft choice in NHL history, picked by Buffalo. Youngest man on the team at 19. Kicks all the way into the Norway end, and then his pass back of the boards as Pavelic comes over to the near side to get it. Now Harrington, number 28, to Pavelic, 16. Back of the net, Schneider, the American setting up in front. Harrington. To Pavelic again. Nobody's out at the left point, so Pavelic has to come back the other way with it. He gets tied up, but Harrington is there to pick the puck up as Pavelic now gets a stick on it, centers it out in front. Christian fakes the slap shot, then Schneider's slap shot is wide as Suter, Bob, number 20, out at the point. To Christian. Christian shot and a great pad save by Т.Мартинсен. And Norway taking the pressure off by clearing it the length of the ice, and this will result in an icing call when Christian touches it to stop the clock with 10:18 remaining in the first period. 10:18 left in the first. It's still Norway 1 and the U.S. nothing. A scramble in front of the net. Davy Silk was nearly able to get it in for the U.S., and now the Norwegians take the pressure off again by flipping it back into the American end for another icing call as the Americans continue to test J.J.Martinsen. Martinsen equal to the task thus far, and Norway's been taking the pressure off by icing the puck. There's the only score thus far at the 4:19 mark. Number 8, Geir Mюре. Deflecting in the slap shot from the point by Låsomon. Suter's slap shot is blocked in front. Moberg, number 7, the Norwegian captain. Number 10 is Settering. Morten Settering to Johansson, and he gets checked at the blue line by Verkota as Bob Suter starts to come back the other way for the U.S. Davy Christian, he started as a forward. Herb Brooks moved into the back line. He's been playing defense now for about 6 weeks. His dad, of course, a big star on the 60 team. We talked to them both last night as the pass is intercepted and Settering comes back the other way. 2-on-2. Settering poked checked away by Suter. And Christian controlling for the U.S. And this will result in an icing call as Davies' pass goes awry. And the face-off will be in the American end in front of Jim Craig. So the U.S. putting on most of the pressure, but it's still Norway 1 and the Americans nothing. Decided underdog leading the United States 1-0. So the Americans have put on a lot of pressure here in the first period. The only goal scored at the 4:19 mark by Geir Mюре. Norway, they haven't been in either of the games thus far. They lost 11-0 to Czechoslovakia, then lost to West Germany the other day. As we take a look at the score right next door in the big arena where the U.S. beat Czechoslovakia the other night. Czechoslovakia in a blue division game leading Romania 1-0 in the first period. The Czechs coming into that game 1-1, having beaten Norway 11-0 in the first game on Tuesday. The U.S. in white, Norway in red. Johnson getting it back to the blue line, and back it comes into the Norwegian zone. Suter back there to get it to Mike Ramsey. Ramsey's pass up ahead is intercepted in the neutral zone and cleared into the American end. Suter with a good check on Thoresen as the Americans try to clear. Strobel can't get it out, kept it at the point and backhanded high off the glass and into the corner. Thoresen bottled up there by Suter as Ramsey comes up with the puck now. 24, Robbie МакКлэнахэн. And here comes Ramsey picking up the puck. Suter, Strobel now over the blue line. His shot is blocked in front. Ramsey gets the rebound, and his shot and a glove save by J.J.Martinsen. So again, the U.S. applying the pressure on Martinsen. And again, Martinsen is there for the save.
Mike Ramsey is very much of a rushing defenseman for the U.S. team, but in the first 2 games, he's been reluctant to rush the puck, probably for very good reason, because of the ability of the Swedish and Czechoslovakia teams. There you see him coming up for a good high shot. Martinsen had to make a good save.
Face off to the right of Martinsen. Pavelich on the face-off for the U.S. Won by the Norwegians. Back out to center zone now. Baker intercepts. Baker, good cross-ice pass to Harrington, but Harrington has it taken away at the blue line. The Norwegians coming back the other way. Anderson starting down the left side. He's ridden out of the play by Pavelich, and the Americans get it to center zone. Out in front now, Schneider on a breakaway. Buzz Schneider backhands it, and another save by Martinsen. So the best American scoring opportunity, and again, Martinsen is right there to take it away from that man, number 25, Buzz Schneider.
Davey Christian just looped the puck out to center. Schneider caught up with it, comes in, he tries the backhand. Is very likely going to go down, and you need to flip it up high.
There's Martinsen. You can see he's had no success in the 2 games thus far. He's played about half the time, splitting the action with Tore Wahlberg, their other goalie, giving up 7.14 goals per game. But looking like a whole other man so far today with 6.5 minutes to play in the first period. Norway leading the U.S. 1-0. The Americans coming off the scintillating tie and victory in their 2 toughest games in this division, having problems with the weak sister of the division, the Norwegians. Number 6, Abrahamsen. Baker picking it up for the Americans. And the Norwegians start back the other way now, but centering can control, and Davey Christian has it at his own blue line.
The U.S. team has to do now is just set some sort of tempo and pattern of play. Right now it's just much too helter-skelter.
And we've got another whistle for a penalty call here as Buzz Schneider went into the boards hard with Abrahamsen. And Buzz Schneider will be going to the penalty box for 2 minutes here as we see it again.
Schneider's going in. And he hits the Norwegian player very hard, and he gets a penalty for charging.
2 minutes for charging at 14:01. Herb Brooks, he may have a few stern words, I would think, after this first period.
I suspect he would. I think that what he would be trying to do is just sort of say, wake up, where the other night is over, the Czechoslovakia game is past, and we've got to win these next 3 games. If we don't, that Czechoslovakia win is not very important.
Norwegians on the power play with Schneider in the penalty box for the next 1 minute and 40 seconds. Meyer, who scored the goal, all the way into the American end, but it's Broughton getting it over to Kristoff. And Kristoff up the center ice. Steve, number 11, losing it at the blue line. Tore Fальk-Nilsен, number 12, back the other way for Norway with 1:18 remaining in the penalty. Backhand shot is swept aside by Craig. Morow tries to clear it, gets it out toward the blue line, and the Norwegians able to keep it in, but now Kristoff clears the center ice with 1 minute and 5 seconds left in the penalty to Buzz Schneider of the U.S. Norway ahead 1-0. This is Johansson. Johansson skating in, Ramsey staying right with him, out to centering at the point, number 10. Centering, hounded by Ramsey. Gets it into the corner, and then Morow takes it away, and Kenny able to clear it down the ice. So that'll eat up some more time as the clock ticks down on the penalty. We have 40 seconds left in the Norwegian power play. 4.5 minutes to play in the first period. Norway leading 1-0. Centering, shoots it in from the point, and Baker able to get his stick on it. Bill, number 6, bears it down the other way, and that will effectively eat up a few more seconds, with only 20 seconds now remaining in the penalty to Buzz Schneider. Morten Johansson with a puck. Number 9. Johansson having trouble controlling at the blue line, has to wait for his mace now to get back on side, and only 7 seconds remain in the penalty. Norway having trouble setting up, so this will effectively kill the power play because Buzz Schneider is now coming out of the penalty box. So the teams are skating at equal strength with under 4 minutes to go in the period. Out in front, Thoresen. Checked away. Czechoslovakia leading Romania 2-1. Meanwhile, next door in the first period, 2-0 make it. Czechoslovakia leading Romania in the first period. Johnson. Davey Christian controlling, number 23. Tries to get it back to Mark. Strobel comes in back of the net. Strobel, number 19. Circling. Setting up from the corner. Strobel, backhander. Saved in front. And we've got a whistle, and Baker starts to mix it up with Canute Andresen, number 11.
Once again, Eric Strobel made a good play coming out of the corner. There he's in front of the net for the backhand shot. Martinsen made the save, and then it was loose out in front for a moment, but the Norwegian defenseman pulled it in for the faceoff.
3:15 left in the first period. Norway leading 1-0. The goal at the 4:19 mark. Martinsen already has 10 saves, many of them good saves. Jim Craig has stopped 4 shots. Murrow blocked in front. Tom Roymark comes up with the puck. Roymark, number 13, slap shot from center ice. Easy save for Craig. Drops it back to the net for Ramsey. 2:57 to go in the first period. Davy Silk now, number 8. Silk from Boston University, drafted by the Rangers. To Kenny Morrow out of Bowling Green and drafted by the Islanders. Up to Mark Wells, number 15. Has it taken away at the blue line by Stephen Foyne. Foyne up to center ice, and we've got an offside pass, a 2-line pass. And a face-off as we take a look at the American bench. Number 21 is Mike Eruzione, the team captain, one of the graybeards on the team. He's 25. Again, if you didn't see the game the other night, we'll tell you this is the youngest ever American hockey team. The average age is just 22. Eruzione and Buzz Schneider, the old men, at 25. 2.5 minutes to play in the first period. Norway ahead 1-0. Mюре, who scored the goal, over to Fальk-Nilsен. He dumps it into the American end. Christian is back to get it. Christian, 20 years old.
Let's just see if this line can do what they have done so well in these past 2 games for the U.S. team, and that's to ignite them.
Bill Baker riding Thoresen into the boards, and offside is the call. So a face-off in the neutral zone with 2 minutes and 6 seconds remaining in the first period. Next door, Czechoslovakia out in front of Romania, 2-0 in the first period. Czechoslovakia 1-1 going into that game, having defeated the Norwegians 11-0 on Tuesday and then losing to the Americans in the thriller on Thursday 7-3. Kenny Morrow over to Ramsey. We have exactly 2 minutes to play in the first period. This is Meyer. Number 8. Ramsey clearing it back to center zone. Peterson flipping it back to Fальk-Nilsен. And Brock controls for the U.S. Neal, number 9. Kristoff couldn't get his stick on it. Kristoff scrapping along the boards. The puck still loose as they get tied up. And now Fальk-Nilsen tries to freeze it along the boards. Still no whistle. And now a stoppage of play.
This first period, the U.S. team has dominated territorially, but they really have not had a lot of very good opportunities. And certainly the best opportunity of the period was the Norwegian play, which resulted in their only goal.
This is the 3rd straight game in which the Americans have fallen behind. They trailed Sweden early 1-0. They trailed Czechoslovakia, remember, the other night 1-0 in the first period. And now they trail Norway. Improper face-off, and we'll face it off again with 1:26 remaining in the first period. The U.S. with a win and a tie. The Norwegians 0-2, and in the 2 games giving up 21 goals. But Martinsen looking very good thus far in the nets for Norway today. Broughton tries to center it out in front, and Eruzione couldn't get his stick on the puck. Christian is then taken out of the play, and Norway tries to clear, and they're able to get it to center ice. Centering, leaving it for Johansson, skating in on the right side. He's got Ramsey with him. Johansson coming back. Then drops it to Centering. Centering shot. Pad saved by Craig from a bad angle. Another shot is knocked down in front. Davy Christian trying to clear. Johansson able to keep it in with a skate. And Centering coming back now. Centering shot is saved by Craig. And that stops it with 44 seconds to play in the first period. And Jimmy's a little frustrated and upset.
I think what he's upset about is just the lack of discipline in the U.S. zone. Everybody was running around. Defensemen were out closer to the blue line, and the forwards were back in towards towards Jim Craig. And if they're to be successful in this game and in the rest of the tournament, they're going to have to get themselves straightened away.
That's Mark Johnson on the face-off against Roy Mark. Ramsey to Johnson. Mark, whose dad coached the '76 Olympic team. МакКлэнахэн can't get control of the puck, and the Norwegians clearing it into the American end. Craig flipping it back of the net to Baker. 25 seconds left in the period. МакКлэнахэн. МакКlэнахэн in on the right side. Out in front, Johnson. Couldn't get the shot away. We have 16 seconds left in the first period. Back out to the point to Baker. Baker dumping it into the corner with 9 seconds now. Johnson, back it comes to Baker. 5 seconds left in the period. And what everybody thought might take place has taken place. The Americans, obviously, after the victory the other night, a bit of a letdown. It's reflected in the score. At the end of the first period, Norway leading the United States, shockingly, 1-0.
The old arena, I should say, and the ice hockey game between the United States and Norway. Al Michaels and Ken Dryden. Okay, Al.
All right, Jim, the team's back out on the ice as we get set to start the second period. And the one thing we talked about briefly, Ken, you might elaborate on, in the dressing room between periods, what might Herb Brooks have said or screamed, as it were?
I expect that he might have started with a little bit of rage and fury, but probably about partway through or halfway through the intermission, maybe start to say things like, let's just take a deep breath and let's start again. It's only 1-0. We still have 40 minutes to go in a game. We're playing against a team that we're better than, and what we have to do is we have to play the game under normal circumstances, not play 4-minute side, 3-minute side, not to have people running away out of their position, but just play a basic game.
Mark Pavlich centering the line that starts the second period as Jim Craig makes the first save of period number 2, and Bill Baker starts back the other way for the U.S., but loses it in center zone as Jarlsborough shoots it back in. Jim Craig, the goaltender out of Boston University, he'll probably be playing with the Atlanta Flames when the Olympics are over. Buzz Schneider, number 25, can't control. And we've got an offside and a penalty call coming up with 25 seconds remaining for the power play opportunity. The penalty coming 25 seconds into the second period. Andresen in the penalty box for Norway. Davy Christian, his shot is saved and then deflected in by Eruzione. Eruzione got the rebound. Number 21, the team captain. And so the United States just 16 seconds into a power play opportunity and 41 seconds into the second period ties Norway 1-1.
Just what you're looking for when you're having a bit of a struggling time is to get the power play opportunity. It's a great equalizer, and the U.S. team equalized with it. Here's the pass out to Dave Christian, who works in and forces Martinsen into a difficult save. And with that save, he made the rebound and was defenseless for the shot.
So the United States won and Norway won in the first minute of play of the second period. Sorensen losing it out in front. Now Eruzione with Morow. Kenny number 3. Eruzione scoring the goal unassisted. Trot tries to split the defense. The puck against the boards and the whistle with 18:51 remaining in the second period. So the Americans striking quickly. It's 1-1 against Norway. Game 1-1 here in the second period at the old Olympic Arena. Live action now as Bill Baker has the puck in his own end for the United States. 18 and a half minutes to play. We're in the second period. The Americans and Norwegians tied 1-1. And an icing call here. We'll have a face-off in the American end. Here's another angle
at the goal. You see the shot. The rebound coming out to Eruzione. The same. It goes off the post originally, bounces back, hits Martinsen in the back of the legs, and then trickles over the goal line.
Eruzione with 2 goals in the tournament thus far. 1977 graduate of Boston University and the captain of this team. We'll have another face-off here. Eruzione actually played last year in the International Hockey League with Toledo. Wells on the face-off for the U.S. against Mюре, who scored the Norwegian goal at the 4:19 mark of the first period. Backhand shot, it's blocked in front, and then Jim Craig closes his glove on the puck.
The U.S. team wants to do at this moment is to just to keep things going. Things are not going to go automatically. They got the goal that they wanted, but not to assume that things are just going to go automatically well for the rest of the way. They got it because they worked hard for it.
Lёsomоен shoots it into the American end. Ramsey trying to come out with it. Thoresen. The Americans now trying to work it free as Wells gets it up to number 27, Verkota, and he clears it to center ice, where Fальk-Nilsson goes back to get it for Norway. And Wells tries to ride him into the boards. Then out in front it comes to Morrow. Kenny back to Verkota. Verkota's shot is saved in front. And we've got some activity in front of the net as Wells starts to mix it up with Peterson. Remember, in international hockey, there are no fighting penalties. The 5-minute variety that you see in the National Hockey League, if you're assessed a fighting penalty in international hockey, you're gone. It's a match penalty. There are, however, 5-minute roughing penalties and also the normal 2-minute roughing variety.
Good scoring opportunity for the U.S. there as Wells took the Norwegian defenseman heavily into the boards, allowing the puck to go free, and Verkota was found open in front of the net, making Т.Мартинсен make a tough save.
No penalties assessed from that last action. Teams at equal strength. The Americans were able to cash in on a power play opportunity early in this period. We're tied 1-1 as the Norwegians in red start back up the ice. Morton centering, number 10. He can't split the defense, and Buzzy Schneider comes back the other way with it. Schneider to Harrington. He can't control, and so Pavlich will set up again. Over to number 6, Bill Baker, the big hero against Sweden. Harrington ahead to Pavlich. Pavlich ridden out of the play, and back come the Norwegians. Morten Johansson, number 9. Intercepted by Pavlich. Good play by Mark. He's been all over the ice in the 3 games. Number 16. It was his pass that set up Baker's goal the other night, and here we have offside as the puck had come out past the blue line, and Baker had shot it back in before the Americans were able to clear the zone.
Mark Pavlich has played extremely well in the 3 games up until now. He's very small, but he's extremely quick and a good stick handler.
Next door, Czechoslovakia is leading Romania in the second period, 3-1. That game taking place in the big arena where the Americans played their first 2 games and will play their next 2. But the Americans in the smaller rink today, the officials not wanting any one team to play all 5 of its games on one rink. They felt it might be an unfair advantage, so that's why the Americans have to play this one in a building that holds only 1,200 people. Out to the point tomorrow. Slap shot is well wide. Kept in by Broughton. To Eruzione out in front. Backhanded by Christoph. It goes through the crease to the corner. Murrow is scrapping for it there. Murrow still controlling. Now a slap shot by Ramsey is blocked out in front. Broughton circling. Tries to center it. And it's taken away by the team captain, 7, Mollberg. Now Christoph trying to keep it into the blue line. Steve able to do so, but it's poke checked away, and back come the Norwegians. The charge led by Stefan Foyn, number 22. Foyn checked at the blue line. Now skates into the American zone, taken out of the play. The American defense doing a good job picking up Norway at the blue line, as Czechoslovakia next door now has scored another goal, and they lead Romania 4-1. The pass ahead to Christoph, but too far. And Peterson back there to get it. And we've got an icing call. 15:42 to play, second period. U.S. 1, Norway 1. While we were away, Mark Johnson has just scored for the United States. The U.S. takes a 2-1 lead at the 4:51 mark. Johnson from out in front. We'll see it again.
Rob McClanahan has the puck in the corner. He sees Mark Johnson in front of the net. Mark lets it go immediately just inside the post. An excellent shot. Here's McClanahan out in front of the net, and it's by Martin.
Well, whatever Herb Brooks said, as you look at Johnson, remember Johnson was questionable. He had that bruised shoulder after taking the check the other night late in the game. Mark Johnson, the United States, it's 2-1 as Kenny Murrow has it intercepted in the neutral zone. 14:50 remaining in the second period. The U.S. on top 2-1. So whatever was said in the dressing room by Herb Brooks, they were words of wisdom thus far. And some well-chosen and choice words, knowing Herb. The U.S. coming out skating, playing their game now after what I wouldn't call a desultory first period necessarily, but they had their problems. Silk to Wells. He loses it back to Morrow. Ken Morrow circling. Morrow, 23 years old. He was the Islanders' 4th round pick in '76. Losing to Johansson. Morten Johansson skates in back of the net. Drops it back to Settering, number 10. And Andresen can't get the shot away, and the Americans clear it as Verkota starts down on right wing, and Verkota ridden out by Nilsson. Up to Johansson. Johansson in across the blue line, then Buzzy Schneider takes the pass away. The Americans start to rush back the other way. 3-on-2. Schneider with a slap shot, a save, and Martinsen freezes the puck. 13:49 remaining now in the second period.
The U.S. team does look considerably better this period. In the first period, they had a wide edge in territorial play. Here's Schneider's shot, and it's right at Martinsen as he comes out to cut the angle. But other than the advantage of the territorial play, they had very few good scoring opportunities, and those which they had, they didn't take very good shots on. But at the start of this second period, they've started very, very well.
The Americans with Christian slapping it from out in front. Baker now. Harrington, number 28. And again, it is Martinsen right there. You're wondering about some of the differences between international hockey and the NHL. Over the years, they have basically standardized the rules. There used to be a number of differences, but now they've gone to the rectangular crease. As we take a look at the last play again.
Harrington coming out from behind the net all by himself. All of the Norwegian defensemen were caught up along the boards, but Martinsen stayed with him very well and made the save.
From the face-off, the Norwegians coming out with Fälk-Nilsson, passing up ahead to Mюre. He can't control. Davy Christian coming back with it. But on the rules interpretations, they're basically the same. It used to be in international hockey, icing was called the minute the puck crossed the red line. Now it's the same as it is in the NHL. The offside situation, basically, one of the differences, as we said before, would be the fighting situation. You won't see as much violence, obviously, as you've got in professional hockey, because you're gone from the game instead of going to the box for 5 minutes. Craig with the easy save. One difference, Ken, which...
There's actually a difference even there, Alan, and it's just probably in the interpretation of the rule. Jim Craig was allowed to hold on to that puck as it went in, even though he was unpressured.
All right, we'll be back after this word from your local station.
The 13th Winter Olympic Games. Brought to you by Boeing, the company that's been getting people together for more than 60 years. By General Electric Television, America's true colors come through on GE. By Cotton, the performance fiber. Cotton Incorporated is the fiber company of American cotton producers. Remember, the more cotton, the better you feel. And by V8 Cocktail Vegetable Juice, a world-class blend of 8 country vegetables that's naturally low in calories.
We're back live at the old Olympic Arena. Al Michaels and Ken Dryden with 11:36 remaining in the second period. As you take a look at Ken Morrow of the United States, the U.S. trailing 1-0 after the first period, striking quickly here in the second. And the United States, a heavy favorite in this game against the weakest team in the blue division, Norway, lead the Norwegians 2-1. 11:36 remaining in the second period. Next door in the big arena, the new one, Czechoslovakia has extended its lead. They lead Romania 5-1 in the second period in another blue division game. Davy Christian starting up the ice. It's important, and we'll elaborate it on as we go along, to almost go against the ideals of good sportsmanship and the Olympic ideals in this tournament. Teams have to think about running up the score, Ken, because if you wind up in a tie in your division, the determining difference is goal differential. So it behooves you to what we call pour it on.
Well, it's true. And because there are so few games played, there is usually at least one tie in the standings at the end. And as you mentioned, the determining factor in that case is goal differential. So while as Whereas in our circumstance in North America, normally what we do is we try not to pour it on. When we're safely in control, we end up coasting a little bit, assuming that we're going to be playing that team again, and we don't want to get them too angry. In international hockey, where goal difference makes a difference, you're almost required to run up the score if you have the chance.
That's why you've seen the great disparity in the scores, why you've seen the enormous totals. For instance, the other day, Czechoslovakia over Norway, 11-0. The Soviet Union scoring 16 goals against Japan the other night. The division, the blue division, remember there are 6 teams in this division and 6 others in the red. There are the standings at the moment coming in. Only the United States and Sweden unbeaten. And, of course, the U.S. and the Swedes tying 2-2 on Tuesday night. We're live from the old Olympic Arena. Capacity just 1,200. Toughest ticket in Lake-Plăsid today, I'll tell you. 2-1, the United States on top. Thorson tries to come in the back door and can't. Davy Silk takes it away for the United States. U.S. in white, Norway in red. Ken Murrow back to get it. Murrow from the town of Davison, Michigan. Passing up ahead to Silk, but too far for Davy. And Meyer goes back to get it for Norway. Anderson leaves it for Låsomon. And back into the American end where Ramsey gets it up to center ice. Wells coming in on the left side. He's taken out of the play. And the Norwegians trying to clear. Number 16 is Erik Peterson. Cross-ice pass is intercepted at center line by Dave Silk. And offside is the call. Face off in the neutral zone. 10-11 to play. Second period. 2-1 Americans. Back again live. We're halfway through the second period. The United States with 2 goals in the second period, leading Norway 2-1. Buzz Snyder chasing it in the Norwegian end. The red-clad Norwegians trying to get it out. Knut Andersen checked into the boards, and we've got a whistle as it was Harrington who goes down, number 28 for the U.S. in the corner. He's from the Duluth branch of the University of Minnesota. 5'10", 180-pounder, played with Mark Pavlich up there. One of the unheralded U.S. players, but he's done well. Here's the replay.
You can see the positioning of the 2 players, Harrington and Anderson. Anderson gets his stick up and with his leg behind Harrington's legs throws him out of control into the boards. Very dangerous play, but Harrington fortunately is all right.
And the hooking penalty against number 11, Knut Andersen. In for 2 minutes with 9:39 remaining in the period. So the Americans who capitalized on their other power play opportunity early in the period have a chance here again. Baker over to Christian. Davy out in front to Kristoff, and his shot is saved by Martinsen.
Well, a very similar play to the first U.S. goal as the puck moved over to Christian. Christian finding room, forcing the play, and finding somebody open. This time, however, the shot was stopped by Martinsen.
From the face-off, the Americans controlling with Broughton getting it back now to Baker over to Christian. Christian in from the right side. And the shot out in front, Martinsen able to deflect it away.
Well, we're running into almost a pattern play here, the same sort of thing. Moving it across and looking for the open man wide.
Baker behind the net now. Broughton tries to backhand and can't. The Norwegians trying to clear it, and they're able to do so as Tom Roymark shoots it down the ice with 1:22 remaining in the penalty to Andersen of Norway. Broughton coming in. 8:55 to go in the period. Kristoff's backhander. And Norway trying to get it out, but kept in by Eruzione, number 21. Eruzione then loses it in front. Broughton over to get it on the far side. Baker back to Broughton. Can't control it. That's Kristoff 11 in the corner. Broughton now losing it, and the Norwegians able to clear it again to center zone. The Americans will have to start up one more time. 50 seconds remaining in the penalty on Norway. Johnson off his stick. And back it comes to center ice again where Davy Christian picks it up. Number 23 out of the University of North Dakota. Johnson skating in back of the net. Out in front, the shot. Knocked down in front. So a couple of good opportunities thus far, but fruitless to this point with 25 seconds remaining in the power play opportunity. Down the left side comes Ramsey, but Martinsen comes out of the net to clear it. McClanahan able to keep it in near the point. And Johnson ties it up for a face-off. 7:52 remaining in the second period. 2-1 Americans. Remaining in the American power play opportunity, the U.S. unable to get off a shot thus far since we left you, and now the teams are at equal strength as Anderson comes back on the ice, and it's he scrambling for the puck along with Strobel along the boards in the corner. So the minute Anderson comes out of the penalty box, he gets wrapped up with Strobel, number 19.
U.S. team put on good pressure during that power play. They had 2 or 3 good opportunities. 2 or 3 of them, again, generated out of the same sort of opportunity coming from Dave Christian at the point. What the U.S. before they had the power play opportunity, and since they scored that second goal, the U.S. team seemed to be going into a bit of a drift. And after all, the score is still only 2-1, and there's almost half of a game to go. They've got to keep that pressure going.
By the way, you saw the graphic shots on goal, 27 for the U.S. in international hockey as opposed to the NHL. They include in shots on goal shots that are knocked down in front, blocked by defensemen. Baker, his slap shot is wide. Morrow keeping it in at the point. And Kenny doing so again, but now the Norwegians clear the zone. 7:15 remaining in the second period. The United States, a heavy favorite in this game, leading Norway, but only 2-1. Davy Silk skating in. His shot, and a save by Martinsen, who didn't know where the puck had deflected. It had gone into the corner, so the Americans could not get the rebound opportunity as Morrow passes over to Baker. Bill skating in. Wells now in the corner. Mark, number 15. Verkota from the blue line. And cleared out by Norway. Back into the American end. Norway changing on the fly as the Americans start back the other way. Morrow over to Pavelic. Pavelic, a good pass ahead to Davy Silk. Silk having trouble controlling. Gets spun around. Has it taken away, but there is Pavelic who gets it back to Silk, who scores! Davy Silk from Mark Pavelic.
Play that seemed to be pretty well in control so far as the Norwegians were concerned in their end. Went out of control as Mark Pavelic found Dave Silk in front of the net for the 3-1 lead.
Dave Silk scored the first goal in the Sweden game the other night. 6:29 to go in the period.
Once again, it's Mark Pavelic with the puck out in front of the net and through Martinsen's legs. And again, the replay.
13-31.
So it's 3-1. The United States on top with 6:19 to play in the second period. Kenny Morrow also gets an assist along with Pavelic on that last goal. Pavelic. And Norway getting it back to center ice where Christian is there. So the Americans taking over after having their problems and struggling in the first period. The second period being dominated by the U.S. Goals by Eruzione, Johnson, and Silk. And it's 3-1. And icing is the call here. So 5:47 to go. We're in the second period. The U.S. 3 and Norway 1. We're live, the old Olympic Arena, where the Americans lead 3-1. Broughton shot, and a 6 save by Martinsen. And the rebound is cleared away by the Norwegians, number 16, Peterson. Up to Thoresen. Petter Thoresen, number 17. Morrow knocks it down with the open glove. Kenny to Broughton. Broughton comes back out to the point to Baker. He slaps it in, and it's deflected in front and into the corner where Kristoff tries to backhand. And back it comes to the neutral zone. We've got a delayed offside call. So there we are up to date in this period, the U.S. scoring. Davy Silk scoring to make it 3-1 American. 4:45 remaining in the second period. Remember, following our initial Olympic coverage of the day at 3:30 Eastern Time, the Pro Bowlers Tour. You'll see it from Peoria, followed by ABC's Wide World of Sports. And, of course, our Olympic coverage continues tonight at 9 o'clock as McClanahan controls for the Americans. McClanahan, number 24, losing it. Centering. McClanahan has it back again as the play is whistled dead with 4:16 remaining. Strobel losing his stick and now to pick it up.
There's Mark Johnson with the puck, and looked like it was a trip perhaps, but the play went right on. Since early in the first period, when referee Keisler called 5 penalties in the first 5 minutes, he's called very few since that time. But here are 2 more with Eric Strobel of the U.S. team in the penalty box.
That's
and Nilsen for the Norwegian team.
Nilsen going off for slashing there. He is number 3. Strobel going off for holding. So coincidental penalties. Each team now down a man with 4:09 remaining in the second period. And with the teams at equal strength, icing is the call. With 1:48 remaining in the coincidental penalties. As you look at Strobel, there are the penalty minutes in the game. Norway has been assessed 6 minors. The Americans 4. We were talking about the rules before. One thing, though, to keep in mind that we should point out, it's a bigger rink. It's a wider rink. Most NHL rinks are 200 feet by 85. But here at Lake-Plăsid, the rink is not necessarily as long. It's only 196.5 feet. But the rink is 98 feet wide, or about 13 feet more than the standard NHL rink. So there's a lot more room, and that's why you see the breathtaking passing, the European style, as they call it. Offside here.
The other part of the ice surface that is different is behind the goal lines, from the net to the backboards. In NHL arenas, it is a very confined area and allows very little opportunity for anything other than pushing and shoving. Here there is an extra 2 or 3 feet on either end, and it allows for plays to be made as well in that back line.
Schneider putting the pressure on in the Norwegian zone. And Norway coming out with it now with Øyvind Låsmann, number 14. Skating into the corner, centering it out in front. Nobody's there, but it comes back out to the point. Peterson nearly fanning on the shot, didn't get much on it, and the U.S. able to clear it. United States 3, Norway 1. Late in the second period, the U.S. with 2 games remaining in this round, taking on Romania Tuesday night, and then West Germany or Monday night against Romania, and then Wednesday night West Germany. And the top 2 teams, remember, in each division advance to the playoff round. If the U.S. can finish first or second, then that would set up a U.S.-Soviet game next weekend. Soviets in the other division. Here comes Pavlich. Pavlich tries to drop it back. The Americans keeping it in. Pavlich now tries to center it. Nobody there. Taken away by Settering. Morton Settering. Ramsey back to get it. Into the second period in the new arena. Czechoslovakia leading Romania now 5-1. We'll have a face-off in center zone with 2:33 to go in the period. 3-1 Americans. 2.5 minutes to go in the second period. The United States leading 3-1. Ken Morrow circling in his own end. Morrow, remember, with a separated shoulder, incurred in the game against Czechoslovakia, but playing today. The coincidental penalties have elapsed, so both teams now skating 6 aside. Ramsey. And the Norwegian able to clear it back to center ice. Bill Baker now over to Kenny Morrow. Morrow, 23 years old, one of the oldest players on this very young team. And icing is the call. Go back and take a look at goal number 3, scored by the Americans. Davy Silk from Pavlich.
There's Pavlich again. He has a little bit of an opening, and he finds Silk to put the U.S. ahead 3-1. Mark Pavlich has just played excellently in the Olympics so far. There's Dave Silk, who got his second goal. He had a big goal the other night against Sweden.
Well, it's incredible to think about it. Coming into the Olympics, the big names, people like Hayden, the names of Babylonian, Gardner, of course, Fradiani. The way the United States hockey team is going right now, we've got to make a little room for people like Pavlich and Silk and Craig and Morrow and Johnson. U.S. ahead 3-1. Craig with a save and then covers up. to prevent any rebound opportunity with 1.5 minutes to play in the second period.
I think the best news that the U.S. team has had in the last 48 hours is the fact that Mark Johnson's injury was not a serious one. He's perhaps their most dominant forward. He's an excellent all-around player, their best face-off man, maybe their best playmaker, their second best goal scorer, and he also kills penalties. And if they had lost him through the Olympics, they would have been in very bad shape.
Another thing to keep in mind, the Americans are playing without, as we've got some activity outside the circle. Biel scored, number 19, starting to mix it with Baker. A reminder, coming up between periods, we'll be going out to the 70-meter hill. Report on ski jumping from that venue. So a lot of activity today, and of course we'll be back on again with our continuing Olympic coverage tonight. Tonight, we'll get underway at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Craig with the save. Murrow. And the U.S. coming back with Johnson now. Johnson falling down, trying to sweep it into the Norwegian zone and unable to. And Fальk-Nильсен comes back to Mюре. Mюre checked out of the play by Murrow. Now Baker up ahead to Johnson, but Johnson gets spun down and taken out, and Norway able to clear it up to center zone. Silk intercepts the pass. Final minute of play now in the second period. U.S. scoring 3 goals here in the second period after trailing 1-0 at the end of the first. Up ahead to Davy Silk. Silk goes down, shoots it in back of the net. The Norwegians trying to tie it up there, but the puck comes loose, and Davy Silk able to keep it in from near the point. McClanahan scrapping forward along with Johnson. It comes out to McClanahan, out in front to Silk. His shot goes wide. 28 seconds to play. McClanahan. Johnson to Silk again, and a great save that time by Т.Мартинсен. Davy got plenty on the shot, and Norway takes the pressure off by shooting the puck down into the American end, and the icing call. 11 seconds to play in the second period. U.S. leading 3-1. As we come back, we have 2 seconds remaining in the period. We had a whistle, 2 seconds remaining in the second period. The United States now not fearing a goal being scored against them. You can see Jim Craig has left his net. So on the face-off now, the Americans, Herb Brooks will go with 6 skaters up front.
With only 2 seconds to go in the period, there's very little risk involved, because even if they were to get possession of it and try to shoot it down, very likely 2 seconds would elapse before the puck would go in the net.
That's right. It's not like basketball where if you get the shot off, it counts. In hockey, you would have to cross the goal line. 2 seconds remaining.
What the U.S. is trying to do here is for Neil Broughton to get the puck back to Kristoff, and with the group of about 5 or 6 players in front of the net, there would be an effective screen.
From the face-off, the Americans can't get the shot away, and Eruzione gets tangled up there. And again, Eruzione and number 11, Andresen, who was involved in a scrap before and went off for a penalty. Now Schneider and Johansson start to mix it a bit, but the officials come in to separate the team. So the emotions running a little high as the second period comes to an end. Crowd of 1,200 cheering their American heroes, and at the end of the second period at the old Olympic Arena, the U.S. leads Norway 3-1. Played 1 minute 40 seconds of the third period. There's been no scoring in this third period. The United States out in front 3-1. The U.S. looking for its second win to go with a tie. The puck in the Norwegian end. The United States in white and Norway in red. 24 McClanahan. Oh, Rob goes down as he was hooked from behind, and there'll be a penalty coming up on Norway. It was number 16, Erik Pedersen. And fortunately, McClanahan looks like he is all right.
I think it was an unintentional play by Pedersen. It looked as if he just got his stick hooked under McClanahan's arm. There you see it there. And then the penalty call. This is just about how the second period started. Norway got an early penalty, and it was that early penalty that got the U.S. back into the game in a 1-1 tie and allowed them to relax a little bit. They're in a much different position right now going into the third with this 3-1 lead.
And the power play with Kристиан at the right point. Dave setting up now in front. Over to Mark Johnson. Johnson to МакКлэнахэн. МакКлэнахэн following his own shot. Back of the net. Digging forward is Stробл. He's trying to get it out to the point to Baker. Bill keeping it in. Bill Baker, number 6. One of 9 University of Minnesota players on this U.S. Olympic hockey team. Mark Johnson. His shot is knocked down in front, and it's cleared. Down into the American end by Lёsomоен, number 14. Jim Craig, back of the nets, leaving it for Baker. As Bill starts the rush. Picked up at the blue line. The puck loose in the center zone. And Lёsomоen again, shooting it down the ice, this time right to Craig, who has an easy save, and he leaves it for Stробl. Johnson. Davy Kристиан has it taken away there by number 10 centering. This is Johansson leaving it for centering. Slap shot is knocked down by Baker.
U.S. team is a bit too casual right now. They know they have the man advantage. They're trying to set up, but they just don't have enough bite at the moment. Here they come.
45 seconds remaining in the penalty. And we'll have a face-off at center ice. Herb, his decision following the Olympics. In the meantime, for the time being, he does intend to go back to the University of Minnesota.
You look at, he's a tremendous asset to college hockey and to U.S. hockey. But again, he's an excellent coach, and I'm sure that the challenge of professional hockey might also be very alluring.
Ramsey to Morow, 10. Shooting it into the corner, dumping it there for Wells. The Norwegians from back of the net able to clear the zone. Craig now comes out and then leaves it for Morow. This could be the final rush for the Americans on this power play opportunity with only 18 seconds remaining in the penalty to Peterson. And Norway losing it in the center zone. 10 seconds now left in the penalty. Morow has to circle back. Ramsey. And Peterson is now out of the box. The team's at full strength. Morow, near side now, Ramsey. Mike Ramsey with the puck. Ken Morow, an Islanders draft choice. Up ahead to Davy Silk, but taken away by the Norwegians. Tommy Roymark losing it at center ice to Verkota. Verkota coming back to Wells, picked up by Silk. Back to Wells, his shot and the save. Loose puck out in front. The rebound goes in by Wells. Mark Wells, number 15, to make it 4-1.
Mark Wells taking advantage of some rather poor clearing by the Norwegians. Got the rebound. Here we see the original shot. It's a high shot, high on Т.Мартинсен. Really too high to control. The rebound comes out, and it appears as if Norway has enough time to clear the puck. They skate right by it, leaving it there for Wells, who just flips it in.
So Mark Wells scoring 15-26. Back live at the old Olympic Arena, the United States. 3 goals in the second period, 1 here in the third. The U.S. in white leading the Norwegians 4-1. And again, we've got a penalty call coming up here as we take a look at the last goal scored by Wells.
Again. Wells takes the shot, and it goes right out to him again, and he's allowed to get his own rebound. Another angle of the shot, high save, high shot, and a save by Т.Мартинсен. And again, Wells coming from nowhere, beating the Norwegian defenseman to score on his own rebound.
There's Baker off for 2 minutes for tripping, so the Norwegians with a power play. Don't forget, coming up, the Pro Bowlers Tour this afternoon at 3:30 Eastern Time. They'll play Peoria today, followed by ABC's Wide World of Sports at 5 o'clock. World Individual Gymnastics Championships. You'll see Nellie Kim in that one. Legendary pool players shootout with Willie Mosconi. So a great afternoon ahead, and then we're back on from Lake-Plăsid tonight at 9 o'clock. 14:50 remaining. The United States heavy favorites in this one. After a tentative first period, The Norwegians, remember, led 1-0. The U.S. out in front 4-1. Centering, skating in. Centering from the corner. Picked up by number 11, Andersen. Johansson now, number 9, to Nilsson. And Nilsson has to come back to get it. Gotta love it. Nilsson for the Norwegians. Who else? Johansson now, number 9. Jarlsborough, number 21, passing back of his own net now. Andersen trying to set it up, leaving it for Settering. And Settering in over his own blue line. And dumping it into the American zone, where Eruzione comes up with a puck and shoots it back in to the Norwegian zone with 52 seconds remaining now in the penalty to Bill Baker. Norway on the power play. Roymark shooting it into the corner. Strobel scrapping for it. Over to McClanahan. McClanahan back of his own net. The Americans killing time very effectively. Ramsey shoots it down the ice, and that will eat up a few more seconds.
U.S. has really had no trouble whatsoever with the Norwegian power play, and really indeed, since the Norwegians scored early in the first period, they really have not threatened.
9 seconds remaining in the penalty, and this will effectively kill it. Kenny Morrow clears it down the ice. Bill Baker ready to step back out onto the ice. There he comes. The team skate at full strength with 12 minutes and 53 seconds remaining in the game. United States leading 4-1. Suter to Christian. The Americans, their next game Monday night against Romania. The Americans will be heavy favorites in that one. Though Romania the other day looked good in their first round game. Right now they're trailing the Czech 7-2 as Strobel shot the save by Martinsen.
Martinsen was a bit fortunate on that one. It looked as if he went down rather prematurely, but the shot went right into his glove. Here's Strobel coming in. Now watch Martinsen start to fade and go down just before the shot comes, but the shot went directly into his catching hand.
Those comments from a man who won 5 Vezina trophies as the National Hockey League's top goaltender. Ken Dryden retired after the 1978-79 season. The Norwegians. Peterson, number 16, up ahead to Falk-Nilsson, leaves it for Peterson at the point. Verkota now back of his own net for the United States. Phil from the University of Minnesota, drafted by the Minnesota North Stars. Up to Mark Wells, who scored the last goal. Shoots it into the Norwegian end. Låsomon. Verkota scrapping for it. And it's tied up for a face-off. 11 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in the third period. The United States leading Norway 4-1. Romania coming up on Monday night. Then the Americans, as you look at Jim Craig, the U.S. goalie, the U.S. team taking on West Germany on Wednesday night. That will end the preliminary competition. And then we'll see about the playoffs next Friday and Sunday and a possible U.S.-Soviet confrontation. 11:43 remaining in the game. Harrington can't keep it in. It comes out to Kenny Morrow, number 3. Morrow circles back and leaves it for Ramsey. To Morrow again. His pass for Pavlich is too long, and we have an icing call here. 11:24 remaining. 4-1 U.S. Back after this word from your local station. Back live at the old Olympic Arena. Capacity crowd, the capacity just 1,200, but enjoying it thus far 4-1. And there's the final score in the big rink. The ice arena next door, Czechoslovakia handles Romania 7-2. Czechoslovakia is now 2-1 in the blue division, and Romania is 1-2. Here, the U.S. in white, leading Norway 4-1. Kristoff has it poke-checked away by Mюре. Kristoff and getting it back into the Norwegian zone to Eruzione, but the call is offside. Mike Eruzione, number 21, 25 years old, captain of the team. second oldest player on the team. Buzz Schneider is the oldest by a couple of months. 10:17 left in the game. Broughton on the face-off against Settering. Broughton, a good face-off man. He's been doing a fine job in the first 3 games thus far. Nilsson up to Johansson. He's checked into the boards by Baker as Eruzione skates into the Norway end. Taken away from Eruzione by Settering. Back it comes to Baker. Bill, number 6 from Minnesota. He was drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. A lot of the Americans will be turning pro after the Olympics.
While this may be the first look that many people have had around the country of U.S. team players, I'm sure it's not going to be the last look. There are going to be a number of these players that are going to go on to be very good National Hockey League players.
Jim Craig, for instance, the goaltender drafted by Atlanta, should be signing with the Flames. Up ahead now. Broughton can't control. And Andresen comes back for Norway. His shot saved by Craig, who sweeps it away into the corner for Eruzione. The U.S. leading 4-1, trying to stay unbeaten. Remember, the top 2 teams in each division advancing to the playoff round. And those 4 teams overall will be the only teams with a shot at a medal. Right now, the U.S., Sweden, and Czechoslovakia, the top teams in the blue division. Then you'd have the Soviet Union, Canada, and Finland, with a surprising Polish unit also contending in the other division. Strobel to McClanahan. Rob, number 24, centers it out in front, but Strobel can't get his stick down. Now it comes to Morrow. Slap shot goes in. Kenny Morrow took it off the board, and the United States leads it 5-1.
That's the kind of goal that all goalies have nightmares about. The shot by Ken Morrow from the point, it was going slowly enough that you as a goalie are almost sure that it's going to be deflected, so you don't make a move for it, and you find the puck going undeflected. Here's the shot by Morrow. It's unobstructed and undeflected. But Martinson was lulled into allowing it to go by.
Reporting live as you look at the blue division standings right now. Czechoslovakia. That, of course, let me correct that and say that if the United States holds on to win it, that will be what the standings will look like. The U.S. will be 2-0-1. Czechoslovakia has already won today, so they are 2-1 in the blue division. Sweden playing West Germany tonight. 7:45 remaining. The United States trailing 1-0 after the first period, leading 3-1 after the second, now on top 5-1. Wells, back to Christian. Over to Baker. And Wells again, circling back in his own end. Bill Baker, who scored the goal against Sweden the other night. Remember, 27 seconds remaining to tie the game. Wells couldn't get his stick down off the pass from Verkota. And the Norwegians start back. This is Settering, trailed by Wells, and his shot saved by Craig. Bouncing puck, Jimmy able to glove it, and a whistle was 7:03. In the red division, that's the way it looks right now. The Soviets, the Finns are 1-1 as they get set to meet the Canadians tonight. Icing. 6:54 remaining. Let's go back and take a look at Morrow's goal now.
Here's the play. Ken Morrow just takes a shot at it. You can see the puck kind of flipping. But again, it happens to all of us who have played goal that we allow the puck to kind of play us. We assume that a number of things are going to happen before it gets to us, and nothing does.
Pavlich, good pass to Harrington, skating in alone. His shot goes wide. Harrington missing the opportunity. Schneider goes into the corner with Mohlberg. Harrington in there to scrap along with Buzz to get it loose. Stick save by Martinsen. Out it comes to the blue line. Shot in from the center by Ramsey. Then Schneider controls back of the net. And the puck lodged against the back of the cage with 6:18 remaining.
good opportunities for the U.S. team there. Here's the pass, setting Strobel into the open, or rather Harrington. Notice Martinsen played that almost like a European soccer goalie by diving for a corner, but the puck missed the net.
Have exactly 6 minutes to play in the game. The United States on top, 5-1, leading Norway as Eruzione skates in. Eruzione has Broughton with him, pad save, and Martinsen tries to cover it up and does for the face-off.
Norwegians almost ran into a bit of trouble there. They had two defenders back on the two U.S. players, but both defenders went after the same man, leaving Eruzione a clear shot.
Mike Eruzione, his dad, looking on today. A lot of the folks, a lot of the parents of this young U.S. team staying together and certainly savoring every moment thus far. The tie with Sweden, the great win the other night. As you look at the comparison there in saves, 26 for Martinsen, as opposed to only 16 thus far for Jim Craig. Norway scored early in the game. They led on a goal at 4:19 of the first period. But since then, or since at least the start of the second period, it's been dominated by the U.S. 5:40 to play, 5-1 United States. Suter in center zone now. The Norwegians shooting it back into the American end. Jim Craig with the easy save and covering up. Kenny Morrow scoring that last goal, number 3 for the United States. You got to be happy for that fella. He's done there he is, a very steady, a very solid job. He's been unobtrusive in a scoring sense, relatively speaking, in the past couple of games, but the man is one of those fellas that you don't necessarily notice all the time, but he's always right there, clearing the puck, steady and solid. 5-1. The Americans lead with Johnson, back of his own net. Ramsey. McClanahan. Pass leading Kristoff too far. He tries to backhand it out in front, and it's cleared down to the other end of the ice. Jim Craig, as they wave off the icing. Craig letting it go by, and Ramsey back for the U.S. Shot back in to the American end by Fieldsgård, number 18, and now Suter starts up again for the U.S. Suter, one of the team's defensemen. Remember, they're playing without one of their best defensemen, O'Callaghan, who could be back on Monday. Jack O'Callaghan from Boston University. McClanahan centers out in front, and it's knocked away. The Norwegians able to clear it to center zone, but Suter back to control for the U.S., then loses the puck. Fальk-Nilsен. Cross-ice pass over to Stefan Foyne, number 22. Foyne skating in, centers it out in front, but the only man there is McClanahan. The Americans coming back 2-on-2. It's McClanahan with Kristoff. McClanahan with a drop pass. Kristoff tries to center it out in front, and it's taken away by the team captain Molberg, number 7 for Norway. 4 minutes to go. Toymark now with a shot. The save by Craig. Cleared away to Kristoff. Kristoff tries to find Verkota, and back it comes to the U.S. zone. Christian. Silk. Davey chasing it into the corner to Wells. Wells out in front. Christian trying to move it over to the slot to number 27 Verkota, who was standing off the right edge that time. And Norway bringing it back into the U.S. zone. Coming to you live from the old arena, capacity 1,200 in Lake-Plăsid. The United States on its way to its second win in 3 games to go with the tie. 3:17 to play, 5-1 Americans. 3 minutes to play in the game. The United States on top. An impressive second and third period for the U.S. unit, leading 5-1. Wells, who scored a goal earlier today. Circles, Christian now. Bill Baker up ahead to Wells. Wells to Verkota, but it's taken away by Thoresen. Now Davey Stilk picks up the loose puck. In over the blue line, which is actually painted red here. I don't know if you can tell on your set, but it's difficult to distinguish. It's a darker shade than the center line. Verkota skating in. Verkota's shot and saved by Martinsen. Bill Verkota from the University of Minnesota, played on 2 NCAA championship teams. top student athlete in Minnesota for a couple of years. A reminder coming up following our afternoon Lake-Placid coverage. We'll be going to Peoria, Illinois, the Pro Bowlers Tour. That's the stop this week, followed by ABC's Wide World of Sports at 5 o'clock, featuring the World Individual Gymnastics Championships, Nellie Kim amongst others. 2:20 remaining in the game. Broughton and Norway. This is backhander by Broughton. Was saved and out in front the Norwegians now bring it into the American zone. This U.S. effort overall, it's funny when you take a look at these first three games as Stробl comes in. Stробl can't control and it's cleared away out in front. If you had to pick one or two heroes, it would be very difficult, as we've got a whistle and a stoppage of play. 1:50 remaining in the game. It's 5-1 U.S. Morton centering number 10 on the Norwegian bench. He was shaken up at the last whistle, but all right now as play resumes with 1:42 remaining. And Ken started to talk about the fact that there's really not one or two fellas that you can necessarily single out. It has really been what would be the cliche, the old team effort for the U.S.
I think it's true. Again, before we came here, there were 4 or 5 players that we knew of fairly well. But you can't go very far with only 4 or 5 players. You're only really going to go as far as the other 15 can take you. And those 15 have been outstanding. People like Eruzione and Schneider and Pavelich, they have played just excellent hockey. And they have really backboned the U.S. performance up until this point.
1 minute to play in the game. The United States will be 2-0-1 in another 50 seconds. Strobl's shot saved by Martinson. Schneider scraps for it in the corner. He gets into it with Bjelsgaard for the moment. There's Nilsson along with Schneider now, and 43 seconds left.
I think today is a good example of what we were trying to suggest at the outset of the program about how North American teams have a very hard time when they get into goal differential situations. This is the same Norway team that was defeated by Czechoslovakia 11-0 and by West Germany 10-4. And today the U.S. has played a very respectable game, and yet they're only ahead 5-1. So if they had to depend on goal differential, if they had not beaten the Czechs the other night, they would be in great difficulty with respect to Sweden and the medal round.
Excellent point. But right now we've got a fight going on between Suter and number 8, Mюре.
Here's a good example of what happens when you have the difference in rules in international hockey, is that it gives you the incentive not to fight. The feelings remain, but as you know that you are going to be expelled from the game, there's a very large incentive for you not to go ahead with the fight. In professional hockey, there's not a similar sort of disincentive, given that you're only penalized for 5 minutes and you're not really playing a man short, as the other person is as well.
Well, we saw a scrap there. We mentioned before you're thrown out of the game for fighting, but that was not serious enough in the estimation of the officials to warrant a match penalty in that circumstance. They're both given double minors, and of course that's all academic right now because we have 24 seconds remaining in the game. 5-1, the United States. Christian dumping it into the corner. Pavelich battling for it there. Baker keeping it at the point. 10 seconds to play in the game. And the crowd starts the countdown, but we've got a whistle that stops play with 6 seconds remaining.
Referee Kaisela started the game by calling a lot of penalties. There was very little called in the intervening time, but now as we have only 6 seconds to go, there's another penalty, this time to the U.S. and Bill Baker.
Referee Carl Gustav Kaisela from Finland, the linesman from Holland and Japan. Interference, the call against Baker. With 6 seconds remaining. So the American bench ready to come out onto the ice. Kenny Morow will pass it over to Ramsey in the U.S. After struggling through the first period, A bit of a letdown, let's face it, after the Czechoslovakia game. It was to be expected. They trailed 1-0. They scored 3 goals in the second period, 2 here in the third. The final 40 minutes totally and completely and thoroughly dominated by the Americans as you look at Herb Brooks. And the U.S. beats Norway final 5-1.